Hey guys, got in a couple of the mini Reflex red dot sights from UUQ. I've done quite a few reviews for them over the last probably, I don't know, maybe 2 years or so. Everything from lasers to scopes to red dots, and pretty much everything that I've reviewed has been a really good quality control, and they've just worked. They're very reasonably priced. So I figured we'll do a real quick unboxing of both red dots. We'll go over features and specifications of both. I'll show you guys the footprint on them and then how to mount them. Hopefully get to the range and use at least one of them. And then we'll come back and give some final thoughts on them. So I'll start by saying that both of them come in these really nice hard plastic. It's like a really thick, durable plastic case with their logo and branding and stuff. Tells you your model number. I really like their packaging. During shipping, you know that your product's going to be protected. Glass isn't going to arrive damaged. So here we have the HD 1079 with the Docter or Noblex footprint, and we have the HD 1080 with the same footprint. And that Docter footprint is what a lot of your like Vortex red dots are. All right, let's quickly get these opened up, see how things are packaged. So we have the red dot and a cover here. Looks like a warranty card, a bunch of screws and little Allen wrenches. I like it when manufacturers include the screws. And now whether I'm able to use them or not is a different story, but I do like that they include it. We have a 2032 battery. Looks like a sight tool. And it looks like a lens cleaning cloth up here and a manual, maybe. Yep. So that's everything in that one. And I'm going to assume that it's pretty much the same type stuff in this one. We have a red dot in the cover, warranty, screws and tools, same battery, and same stuff. We'll obviously go over these in detail here in a bit, but I want to show you they are two completely different red dots, different designs. This is the 79, this is the 80. So both red dots come with this little cover. I'll be honest, the cover is pretty cheap and it doesn't fit on there all that great. You can just shake it a couple times and it just falls right off. And it's like a really, really thin, flexible rubber. I'm sure that while it's in like your safe or something, it's fine to prevent like other guns or anything like that from hitting the glass. But yeah, not a great fit on that. So the 79 here is made out of aircraft grade aluminum. It's got a multi-coated lens, which allows for more light transmission, reduces glare. As you can see, it's got a really thick shroud on it. It's IPX65 waterproof rated. It's 1000 G impact or recoil resistant. So you should be able to put it on just about anything. Dimensions on the 79 are 1.73 inches in length. The width is just over an inch, 1.18, and the height is just over an inch at 1.06. The 79 has a 2 MOA dot and 7 levels of brightness. And the weight on the 79 is 36 grams, but that is for the red dot itself. That's without this mount right here, the Picatinny mount. All right, so this is the 1080 here, and almost every specification or dimension is the same, except for this one weighs 38 grams versus the 36 on the 79. This one also has 12 brightness settings versus the 7 settings that were on that one. But the biggest and the best difference between the two is that the 80 has shake awake technology, whereas the 79 does not. And for those of you that don't know, basically you can turn this on, set it at whatever brightness that you want, and then after so many minutes of this not detecting any movement, like basically if it's in your holster or if it's in your safe or whatever, the unit will automatically power itself down. Then whenever you were to draw it out of your holster or lift it out of your safe or whatever, it automatically comes back on. And what that does is it preserves your battery life. It makes it last for several years. And according to the manual, that time to power off is 2 minutes. So you set this down in your safe, and after 2 minutes, it will just shut itself off. And they claim that because of that shake awake feature, that the battery on the lowest setting should last around 50,000 hours, which I think that's maybe somewhere in the 4 to 5 year range. I would not trust a battery in my red dot that long. Personally, I would change it still every year or so. These are pretty cheap, so I would just get like in the habit of changing it out yearly. All right, so I'm back with the 79. I just kind of want to do some up close here, kind of look at the anodization, see if there's any imperfections anywhere, which I don't see any. UUQ does a really good job with their products. Let's listen for the clicks here. They're audible and tactile. I can feel them. Here's the 80 up close. Again, we'll kind of look to see if we see any type of glue coming out anywhere. Kind of look down there by the emitter. Little imperfection. I don't know if that's showing up right there. You guys see that right there's a little bit of a nick or machining on that. But again, the anodization looks really good on these. All right, let's take a look at the viewing window on both of them. This is the 79, and as you can see, there's definitely a bluish hue to it, but overall, it's pretty clear. Like you can clearly read this as features and specifications. Let's see what this looks like turned on. There's our dot. And it looks like once you get to a certain level, it just goes back to a lower level. So yeah, there's our 7 levels. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then back off basically. And then it would just repeat that. And again, this one does not have shake awake. So if I left it on here, that is just going to stay on all the time, which is what I would recommend if you are carrying or if this is a home defense use. Just leave this thing on all the time and just worry about replacing your batteries, every so many months or whatever. The last thing you'd want is to try to draw this out of your safe or something in the middle of the night and then try to fumble and turn things on. And so just leave it on all the time. And that 79, the power button is only on the one side. And this is looking through the 80. Again, it does have a bluish hue. I don't think it's quite as bad as what the 79 was. The one thing I didn't mention is that there already was a battery in that 79. So I assume that there's one in the 80. So they give you extra batteries with them. So this one has buttons on both sides. Let's get it turned on here. And I believe with this one, to increase the brightness, it's on one side. To decrease it, it's on the other side. So we're probably at that highest setting, which is 12 right now. So we'll come to this other side here and then go back down, 11. That should be 1 right there. So yeah, if I continue to press it, nothing happens. And then to go back up through. And then with that shake awake, let's say like that's level 9 right there. Let's say that's the level that works for me for most of my conditions. And when this were to basically fall asleep in that shake awake, when it comes back on, it's always going to be on that level 9 for me. And if for whatever reason you don't want to use the shake awake and you just want to manually turn it off, you can press and hold for 3 seconds and it'll shut that dot off just like that. So we're going to get to mounting one of these. Just so YouTube knows, I'm working with a completely safe gun here, no ammo anywhere around, and adding a red dot to a pistol does not modify the pistol in any way and make it do anything other than what it was originally designed to do. So if you wanted to mount these onto a pistol that has a Picatinny rail, you literally just will mount this on like it is right now. You're just going to loosen up these two screws here, put it on, or you could even put one of these on a rifle. A lot of people are running these small reflex style sights on rifles because they literally don't weigh anything at all. They give you unlimited eye relief. So I'm going to mount the 80 on my pistol. This was all the stuff that was in that little baggie. So it shows you the different types of screws that they have. So in order to mount it to the slide of my pistol, I have to take those screws out that hold the red dot to that Picatinny mount. All right, got those two screws out. So this should just come apart. I'm sure that the battery and stuff is underneath here. So there we go. There's the battery. I don't see any type of O-ring around that. I don't see anything kind of protecting that right there. So they're just kind of relying on it being against your pistol to keep the waterproofness on it. This is what kind of creates the Docter footprint. So you have RMR and RMS, all the different footprints. RMR has 4 of these little nubs that will go onto your slide. Some of them only have 2. They can be in different places, but a Docter has the 4. And as you can see on my slide, this little plate here, I've got the same corresponding 4 that will go onto that. So it'll look like this once I get those screws in. If you were permanently mounting this, I would definitely recommend some Loctite. And I would recommend torquing it to whatever the manufacturer's specifications are. So I have ran into a problem trying to install this red dot on my pistol. So this Taurus is not specifically milled or designed for the Docter or any of the footprints. And instead I have to use these adapter plates that basically go on here, and then whatever red dot you're trying to put on will mount to this plate and then to this. Well, the longest screws only stick down that far, like that's pressed all the way down. And then once I put that adapter plate on there, there's not enough threads sticking down for me to mount this to my pistol. And I have multiple extra screws, and these are the longest ones that I have, which are basically the same length as the ones that UUQ provides. Like this is the UUQ one, and the one on the right is my Taurus one, and they're the same length. So I'm not sure if I can try to find another one or if I'm just going to have to mount these to some rifles. So I just pulled that mount, the Picatinny mount, off of the 79 and tried it, and I'm getting the same thing. It's just my screws will not reach down. I think if your pistol was actually milled for the Docter footprint, this would be fine. But just because I have to use that extra plate, there's not enough of those threads sticking through both things to get down in there. So they'll just have to go back together like this for now. I'll have to put them on a Picatinny mount on a rifle for my next range trip. And then if I'm able to find some longer screws, maybe I'll put these on that pistol, at a later date. With the unlimited eye relief, you can really put this almost anywhere you want along your rail. I could probably put a riser on here to get this to completely co-witness with my backup sights. As it is right now, it's a little bit too low, but with those sights down, I can see the dot perfectly fine. If the dot were to fail, I could then go to my backups and I can see over the dot perfectly fine with my backups. And when I'm talking about mounts, it's something like this here. I could put this down on my rail first, then mount that red dot to that. As long as they make these in 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, I think 3/4 inch, but there's a whole bunch of different heights that you can get these mounts in. But then that would get me completely able to co-witness with my backup sights. All right, guys, made it up to the range here this morning with those 2 UUQ red dots. As you can see, I was able to get the one mounted to my Taurus. I believe that the size of screws that I had were 6 to 32, or 6 by 32. And I ordered some 6 by 40 and got it mounted down real well. So we'll get both of these zeroed in. I'm planning on putting about 50 rounds through each of them. Make sure there aren't any problems with the dot itself, flickering or shutting off or anything like that. And then I'll give you guys some thoughts afterwards. This might be a shaky mess because I'm trying to freehand it, but just wanted you to see kind of what I'm seeing. There's the dot, bullseye area, head area, kind of stomach area, but it's actually a very nice window on this one. I'll try to capture these first 4 or 5 on camera for you so we can see if we're on paper. So as you can see, those first 5 were way low and quite a bit to the left as well. So I'm going to make some adjustments and we'll keep going. All right, guys, so I've had these UUQ red dots for a few weeks now and had a chance to get to the range and actually use them. So I want to share some thoughts with you. So let me start with a few of my negatives. And let me say that the majority of these don't affect the performance of the dot itself. They're just little things that I think that UUQ could do or change to maybe make the package better or the experience better. So first negative is regarding those manuals. So I would like them to start printing the model number somewhere on the manual. So it should say HD 1079 up here. And my next complaint is kind of with these covers. They are very flimsy. They don't stay on at all. They're obviously the exact same cover here. I'd like to see these made a little bit sturdier and then maybe even have the UUQ logo on them somewhere. Next thing I'll talk about are the screws. Now, they did not work for me. They include multiple sets, and it could be, again, because my pistol takes that extra plate that goes in there. But I almost feel like even if I didn't have that plate, that the screws would still be too short. And this might be really hard to see, but you see kind of where these ridges are right here in the middle. They kind of have like this extra material that's built up where those screws mount, right in there where I'm pointing right now. And I almost feel like if that weren't there, that these would mount down to most slides with just the regular included screws. I want to quickly talk about their warranty. You have to scan this QR code and activate your warranty. It doesn't just come automatically, and it's only for 1 year. A lot of optic manufacturers will give you 2 or 3 years. I've even had some that are lifetime warranties. Talk about the battery. It is placed under the optics, so you do have to completely remove this, take it off, change out that battery, which then means you're going to probably have to re-zero this in. And the last thing that I'll mention, it could be a negative for some people, is just the overall size of your dot. It's a 2 MOA dot that's on the smaller side. For self-defense purposes, you might want something that's closer to a 4 or 5. It just makes it easier to find. When you get down into the 2s, those are more for like longer distance, kind of like precision shots, maybe out to 75 yards or something like that. I prefer a larger dot for up close stuff. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I've had quite a few red dots and scopes and lasers and stuff from UUQ, and they do put out a really good product overall. And these two red dots are no exception to that. I know a few minutes ago I said like this is just kind of cheap. When you hold these, you can tell that these are made out of quality materials. Just everything seems very well built on them. Very clear glass, nice thick shrouds, all aluminum construction. The buttons even feel nice. They don't feel like plasticky or anything like that. Just everything is just nice to the touch on them, and more importantly, they just perform well. I had 50 shots through this one, no problems at all. The dot is really crisp and tight. There's not any of that like starburst pattern where it kind of looks like it's going all different directions when you get to the higher settings. I don't see any of that at all. Just quality components with their stuff. The 1080 has that shake awake technology, and I've tested that probably 20 times over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it has worked flawlessly every single time. I like that you get feedback when you're making adjustments. And just overall, I think they're quality budget red dots. And I've been using red dots more and more and more, just because it allows you to find your target much, much faster. You only have to put one dot down on your target, versus trying to line up, your iron sights or whatever, and trying to get your notches and get the right adjustments. And so not only is your first shot much faster, but then because of like muzzle rise and stuff like that, your follow-up shots are much faster too using a red dot. So let's talk pricing real quick here. The 1079 is coming in at $54 at the time of me recording this. That is a crazy, unbelievable price for a pretty quality red dot. And the 1080 with the shake awake is coming in at $66. Again, incredible prices on these. And one last thing to show you guys before I close this out. Those were the longest screws that were included with those UUQ red dots. And then that's what I ended up having to get. And I believe it was a number 6 and the length is 40. All right, guys. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. If you found this video helpful in any way whatsoever, please give me a thumbs up. And that's going to be it on this one. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.